The bonding ceremony took place 1 week later in the station's central amphitheater, a stunning circular chamber with a transparent dome that offered a panoramic view of the star field beyond. Representatives from dozens of species had gathered to witness what many considered the most significant interspecies bonding in galactic history. Marcus stood at the center of the chamber, wearing ceremonial robes that had been specially designed to incorporate both human and Zephyrian cultural elements. The fabric was a deep blue that complemented his dark hair, with silver threading that mimicked the patterns of Zephyrian neural networks. Seraphina approached from the opposite side of the chamber, her own robes shimmering with bioluminescent fibers that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. She looked radiant, and Marcus felt his genetic modifications responding to her presence with increasing intensity. Lyrelei walked between them, carrying a ceremonial crystal that would serve as the focal point for the genetic bonding process. She wore a smaller version of the ceremonial robes, her face bright with excitement and joy. Dr. Yalek served as the ceremony's officiant, his role combining elements of both priest and physician. "We gather today to witness a bonding that transcends the boundaries of species and tradition," he announced to the assembled crowd. Marcus Chen of Earth and Seraphina of Zephyros, Prime have chosen to unite their genetic destinies and commit their lives to each other and to their children. The ceremony began with the sharing of personal histories. Seraphina spoke of her life on the mining colonies, her love for her first husband, and her hopes for the future. Marcus shared his journey from Earth to the medical station, his dedication to healing, and his transformation through saving Lyrelei's life. The bonding crystal has been programmed with the genetic templates of both participants, Dr. Yalek explained as Lyrelei placed the crystal in a specialized pedestal between Marcus and Seraphina. It will facilitate the permanent integration of their DNA while preserving the unique characteristics of both species. Marcus and Seraphina joined hands and immediately felt the familiar warmth that had become associated with their connection. The crystal began to glow, responding to their combined bioelectric fields. "Marcus Chen," Dr. Yalek intoned formally, "do you accept the genetic destiny of bonding with Seraphina, knowing that this choice will alter your fundamental biology and commit you to the well-being of her existing children, and any children you may have together?" "I do," Marcus replied firmly, feeling the crystal's energy beginning to resonate through his body. "Seraphina," Dr. Yalek continued, "do you accept the genetic destiny of bonding with Marcus Chen, knowing that this choice will create new life forms and commit you to sharing your essential self with someone not of your species?" "I do," Seraphina answered, her voice strong and clear. The crystal's glow intensified, and both Marcus and Seraphina felt a tingling sensation spreading through their joined hands and up their arms. The genetic bonding process was beginning. The participants will now share the ceremonial foods of bonding, Dr. Yalek announced. Lyrelei brought forward 2 bowls containing substances that looked like liquid starlight. Marcus and Seraphina each drank from the other's bowl, sealing their commitment to mutual nourishment and care. As the ceremonial liquid entered their systems, Marcus felt the most intense sensation yet. It was as if every cell in his body was awakening and reaching out to connect with Seraphina's essence. He could feel her presence not just physically, but emotionally and somehow spiritually as well. "The genetic integration is now beginning," Dr. Yalek reported, monitoring the readings on his medical scanner. Both participants' DNA is actively restructuring to accommodate permanent compatibility. Marcus looked into Seraphina's eyes and was amazed to realize that he could sense her emotions directly. Her joy, her love, her slight nervousness about the unknowns they were facing, all of it was as clear to him as his own feelings. "I can feel you," he whispered to her. "And I can feel you," she replied, tears of happiness streaming down her face. The bond is complete. The crystal reached peak intensity, sending waves of energy throughout the chamber. Every being present could feel the power of the genetic union taking place before them. Lyrelei stepped forward and placed her small hands on both Marcus's and Seraphina's arms. "I can feel the connection too," she announced happily. "We are truly family now." Dr. Yalek smiled broadly. "The bonding is successful. Marcus and Seraphina are now genetically linked for life, their destinies intertwined at the cellular level. Any children they have together will carry the combined strengths of both species." The assembled crowd erupted in celebration. representatives from dozens of worlds offering congratulations and blessings in their various languages and customs. Commander Mitchell approached the newly bonded couple, her professional demeanor softened by genuine emotion. "Congratulations, Dr. Chen. Earth Medical Command is honored to support your research into this new form of interspecies cooperation." Over the following hours, Marcus and Serafina received well wishes from colleagues, friends, and complete strangers who had traveled across the galaxy to witness the historic ceremony. But throughout the celebrations, Marcus found himself most affected by the continuing development of his psychic connection with Serafina. He could sense her fatigue as the evening wore on, could feel her happiness at seeing Lyrelai so joyful, could even detect her anticipation about their future together. It was overwhelming and wonderful at the same time. "How long does it take to adjust to the emotional connection?" Marcus asked Dr. Yalix during a quiet moment. "For naturally bonded Zephyrian couples, it usually takes a few months to learn to distinguish between your own emotions and your partner's," Dr. Yalix replied. "But given the unique nature of your bonding, it may take longer or shorter, depending on how your modified physiology adapts." As the celebration continued into the night, Marcus realized that he was no longer the same person who had entered the emergency bay to save a dying child weeks ago. He had become something new, something unprecedented in galactic history, and he was excited to discover what that would mean for his future with Serafina and Lyrelai. When the ceremony finally ended and the guests departed, Marcus, Serafina, and Lyrelai stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the stars that now seemed brighter and more welcoming than ever before. "What happens now?" Marcus asked, holding both his new wife and daughter close. "Now we begin the real adventure," Serafina replied, her hand resting on her abdomen where, thanks to the bonding ceremony, new life was already beginning to form. "We create a future that no one has ever imagined before." That evening, Marcus and Serafina walked together through the station's observation deck, the vast star field beyond the transparent aluminum providing a stunning backdrop for their conversation. The artificial day cycle had dimmed to simulate evening, creating an intimate atmosphere that felt both alien and familiar. "Lyrelai told me about her father," Marcus said softly, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Serafina's steps faltered slightly. "I should have told you myself. I was afraid that knowing about Valen would make you think I was trying to replace him with you." "Were you?" Marcus asked gently. Serafina stopped walking and turned to face him, her translucent skin glowing softly in the starlight. "At first, perhaps. The pain of losing him was so great that I focused entirely on Lyrelai's needs to avoid dealing with my own grief. But spending these weeks with you has changed that." "How so?" "You are nothing like Valen," Serafina said with a small smile. "He was bold and impulsive, always rushing toward danger to protect others. You are thoughtful and careful, but equally brave in your own way. You saved Lyrelai not through physical courage, but through compassion and selfless sacrifice." Marcus moved closer, studying her face in the dim light. "The genetic bond between us, is it influencing how you feel?" "How we both feel." "Dr. Yalix and I have discussed this extensively," Serafina replied. "The bond may create compatibility and attraction, but it cannot create genuine love or emotional connection. Those must develop naturally." "And have they?" "Develop naturally, I mean." Serafina's eyes met his directly. "For me, yes. I find myself thinking about you when you are not near, wanting to share experiences with you, feeling proud of your achievements and worried about your well-being. If that is not love, then it is something very close to it." Marcus felt his heart racing, both from her words and from the increasing warmth in his chest that signaled their genetic bond responding to their proximity. "I've been trying to convince myself that what I'm feeling is just the biological connection, but I think I've been lying to myself." "What do you mean?" "I mean that when I gave you my blood to save Lyrelai, something changed in me that goes beyond genetics. Watching you care for her, seeing your strength in the face of loss, getting to know your mind and your heart, it's made me realize that I've never felt this connected to anyone before." Serafina moved closer, close enough that Marcus could feel the slight electrical charge that seemed to emanate from her skin. "The Zephyrian mating process is not like human romance. We do not court and marry in the same way. When we find our life partner, we undergo a bonding ceremony that links us biologically and emotionally for life." "Are you proposing to me?" Marcus asked with a mixture of humor and nervousness. I am explaining that if we choose to have a child together, it will not be a casual arrangement. The process will bond us permanently, making us true partners in every sense. You would become not just Lyra Lay's genetic father figure, but my life mate. Marcus considered this carefully. And if I say yes, what happens to my life, my career, my connection to humanity? You would not lose your humanity, Serafina assured him. The genetic modifications enhance who you are, they do not replace it. As for your career, Commander Mitchell has offered you the opportunity to establish a new medical research facility here on the station, studying interspecies compatibility and genetic bonding. You would be pioneering an entirely new field of medicine. And personally, what would our life be like? Serafina smiled, and Marcus realized it was the first truly relaxed expression he had seen from her. We would be a family. An unusual one, perhaps, but a real family. Lyra Lay needs both of us, and I have discovered that I need you as well. Marcus took her hands, noting how their skin seemed to generate a pleasant warmth where they touched. There's something I need to tell you. The biological bond we share, it's been affecting me in ways I didn't expect. How so? I'm developing some of your people's abilities. I can sense emotions more clearly. My healing rate has accelerated dramatically, and I seem to be developing a form of electromagnetic perception. Dr. Yalex thinks these changes will continue as our bond strengthens. Does this frighten you? Serafina asked. It should, Marcus admitted. But honestly, it excites me. I feel like I'm becoming something more than I was before, not less. And if having a child with you would continue that evolution while saving Lyra Lay's life, then maybe it's not the burden I thought it was. Serafina's eyes brightened with hope. You are considering it seriously? I'm considering all of it seriously, Marcus replied. The bonding ceremony, having a child together, building a life that spans two species. But I need to know that you want this too, not just because your culture demands it or because Lyra Lay needs it. I want it because I want you, Serafina said simply. The cultural requirements and Lyra Lay's needs gave me the courage to ask, but my feelings for you are real and independent of any obligation. Marcus felt the last of his resistance crumbling. What would the bonding ceremony involve? It is beautiful and sacred, Serafina explained, her voice taking on a reverent tone. We would share genetic material in a ritual setting, allowing our DNA to permanently intertwine while we pledge ourselves to each other's well-being. The process creates a psychic link that allows us to sense each other's emotions and physical state across great distances. A psychic link? Not telepathy exactly, but a deep emotional awareness. You would know if I was in danger or distress, and I would know the same about you. It is how bonded Zephyrian couples maintain their connection even when separated. Marcus looked out at the stars, thinking about the life he had known and the life that was being offered to him. When would this ceremony take place? Whenever you are ready, Serafina replied. But for Lyra Lee's sake, it should be soon. Her condition continues to deteriorate slowly, and the sooner we can provide her with a genetically compatible sibling, the better her chances for long-term stability. Marcus turned back to face Serafina, his decision finally clear. I have one condition. Name it. I want Lyra Lee to be part of the ceremony. If I'm becoming her father in truth, then she should witness the commitment I'm making to both of you. Serafina's smile was radiant. That is not just acceptable, it is traditional. In Zephyrian culture, children are always present for bonding ceremonies, as they represent the future that the couple is committing to create together. Marcus took a deep breath, knowing that his next words would change everything. Then yes, Serafina, I want to bond with you, to have a child with you, and to build a family that has never existed before in the history of either of our species. The warmth in his chest intensified as Serafina moved into his arms, and Marcus realized that he was no longer fighting against his feelings, but embracing them completely. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was celebrating their decision. Marcus found Lyra Lay in the station's education center, sitting cross-legged on the floor with holographic displays floating around her. She was simultaneously studying human anatomy and Zephyrian biology, comparing the similarities and differences with the fascination of a natural scientist. Uncle Marcus, she called out in perfect English when she noticed him. The title surprised him, as she had been calling him Dr. Chen since her recovery. Uncle, Marcus asked, settling down beside her on the comfortable floor cushions. Lyra Lay's eyes sparkled with mischief. Mother says you are family now, so you must be my uncle. Unless you become my new father, then you would be Papa Marcus. The directness of children, Marcus thought, was apparently universal across species. And how do you feel about that possibility? I think it would be nice, Lyra Lay said simply, then turned her attention back to her studies. Look, I can see the differences in our blood now. Before your gift, my cells looked like this. She manipulated the hologram to show normal Zephyrian cellular structure, but now they look like this. The modified cells were remarkable. They retained the basic Zephyrian structure, but had incorporated elements that were distinctly human. The result was something entirely new, more robust and efficient than either parent species. Do you understand what this means? Marcus asked gently. Lirelai nodded seriously. It means I am special, but also that I need you to stay special too. The computer programs show that my new cells will get tired without more human energy to help them. And that doesn't frighten you? Why should it? Lyra Lay asked, her innocent logic cutting through the complex emotions surrounding the situation. You saved my life. If I need you to keep saving it, then we should stay together. That's what families do. Marcus marveled at her simple acceptance of their bond. Adults of both species were struggling with the cultural and biological implications, while this child saw only the practical reality of their connection. What do you think about your mother's request? Marcus asked carefully. Lyra Lay's expression became more thoughtful. Mother is sad sometimes. She thinks I cannot see it, but I can. She misses father, but she also feels guilty for wanting to be happy again. This was news to Marcus. Serafina had never mentioned Lyra Lay's father. What happened to your father? He died in the mining accident that hurt me, Lyra Lay said matter-of-factly. He pushed me away from the worst of the explosion, but he could not save himself. Mother blames herself because she sent us both to the mining colony. Marcus felt a new understanding wash over him. Serafina's urgency about the bonding process wasn't just about cultural obligation or biological necessity. She was a grieving widow trying to build a new life while honoring her daughter's unique needs. Mother likes you, Lyra Lay continued, manipulating the holographic displays to show comparative brain scans. I can tell because her neural patterns change when you are near. They become calmer but also more excited at the same time. How can you see that? Marcus asked, amazed by the child's perception. The blood you gave me changed more than my body. I can sense emotions more clearly now, especially from people I am bonded with. You and Mother both feel confused, but underneath the confusion, there is something warm and growing. Marcus realized that Lyra Lay might have a better understanding of the situation than any of the adults involved. What do you think we should do? I think you should stop fighting what has already happened, Lyra Lay said with startling wisdom. The bond exists. Fighting it only makes everyone unhappy. Why not see where it leads instead of being afraid of it? Before Marcus could respond, Serafina entered the education center, followed by Dr. Yalix and an unfamiliar human woman in a crisp military uniform. Marcus, Dr. Yalix said formally, this is Commander Sarah Mitchell from Earth Medical Command. She's here to discuss your status with the Human Medical Board. Commander Mitchell stepped forward, her expression professional but not unkind. Dr. Chen, I've been reviewing your case files and the reports from Dr. Yalix. The modifications to your physiology are unprecedented, and frankly, they're causing considerable debate among our xenobiology experts. I assume you're here to take me back to Earth for study, Marcus said, resignation in his voice. Actually, no, Commander Mitchell replied, surprising everyone. After extensive analysis, we've determined that your genetic modifications represent a potential breakthrough in human evolution. Rather than treating you as compromised, we'd like to support your continued research here, with one condition, which is, you must document everything. Every aspect of the bonding process, the genetic changes, the long-term effects. Your experience could pave the way for beneficial human-alien cooperation that we've never imagined possible. Serafina moved closer to Lyra Lay, her protective instincts evident. You wish to make them experimental subjects? Not subjects, Commander Mitchell clarified. Pioneers. Dr. Chen would retain full autonomy over his decisions, but his research would be supported by Earth's resources. This could benefit both species enormously. Marcus looked around the room at the faces of the people who had become important to him. Dr. Yalix, the colleague who had become a friend. Commander Mitchell, representing the career and world he had known. Serafina, the woman who was asking for his heart as well as his genetic material, and Lyrelai, the child whose life had changed everything. What do you think, Lyrelai? Marcus asked, surprising the adults by seeking the child's opinion. Lyrelai studied each face carefully, her enhanced perception reading emotions that others couldn't detect. I think the commander is telling the truth about wanting to help, but she is also excited about what she might learn. Dr. Yalix is worried about making the right choice for everyone. Mother is scared but hopeful. She turned to Marcus with her large, knowing eyes. And you are tired of being afraid of what you really want. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the wisdom of the child who had started it all. Marcus realized that Lyrelai was right. He had been so focused on the obligations and complications that he had ignored his growing feelings for both her and Seraphina. I need to speak with Seraphina privately, Marcus said finally. But first, Commander Mitchell, I want assurances that whatever research agreement we establish protects Lyrelai's rights and well-being above all else. Absolutely, the commander agreed. The child's welfare is paramount. As the others prepared to leave, Lyrelai hugged Marcus tightly. Thank you for saving my life, Uncle Marcus. Now save Mother's too. The next few weeks brought a parade of Zephyrian officials, cultural experts, and religious leaders to the medical station. Word of the unprecedented biological bond between Marcus and Lyrelai had spread throughout their society, creating what could only be described as a cultural sensation. Marcus found himself at the center of debates, ceremonies, and discussions he didn't understand. Every day brought new revelations about Zephyrian customs and beliefs that made his situation more complicated. The Council of Elders wishes to speak with you, Seraphina announced as she entered Marcus's quarters one morning. She was dressed in elaborate ceremonial robes that shimmered with embedded crystals, a far cry from the simple medical garments she had worn during Lyrelai's crisis. More council meetings? Marcus sighed, setting down his coffee. Seraphina, I've been through this with 5 different groups already. I understand that what happened is significant to your people, but I'm not prepared to commit my entire life based on a medical emergency. Seraphina's expression was patient but firm. You still do not understand the magnitude of what has occurred. The genetic bond you share with Lyrelai is not simply cultural tradition, it is biological reality. Dr. Yalix's latest scans confirm that her cellular structure continues to evolve, guided by the human genetic markers she received from your blood. She activated a holographic display that showed complex genetic sequences. Look at these patterns. Your DNA and hers are becoming increasingly intertwined. She is no longer purely Zephyrian, just as you are no longer purely human. You have both become something new. Marcus studied the display, his medical training allowing him to understand some of what he was seeing. The genetic integration was indeed remarkable, unlike anything in medical literature. But this doesn't mean I have to father another child with you. There has to be another solution. The elders believe there is only one path forward, Seraphina replied. Lyrelai will require a sibling with matching genetic modifications to achieve full biological stability. The bond must be completed through natural reproduction, not artificial means. And what about what I want? Marcus asked, frustration creeping into his voice. What about my life, my career, my own choices? Before Seraphina could answer, Dr. Yalix entered the quarters, his expression grave. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have a problem. The Human Medical Board has been reviewing Marcus's case and they're considering declaring him biologically compromised. Marcus felt his stomach drop. What does that mean? It means they believe the genetic modifications you've undergone may have affected your judgment and decision-making capabilities. They're questioning whether you're still mentally competent to make medical decisions both for yourself and for patients. That's ridiculous, Marcus protested. I feel better than I have in years. My cognitive abilities are enhanced, not impaired. Dr. Yalix nodded sympathetically. I agree, but the human medical establishment is conservative when it comes to unknown genetic modifications. They're also concerned about the potential for cross-species contamination if you continue practicing medicine. Seraphina's eyes flashed with anger. Your people would punish you for saving a child's life? It's not that simple, Dr. Yalix explained. They're worried about precedent. If word gets out that human-alien genetic bonding can occur through blood transfusion, it could create panic or, conversely, dangerous experimentation. Marcus slumped in his chair, feeling trapped between two worlds. So my own species considers me contaminated, while yours considers me permanently bonded. Is there any middle ground here? There may be, Dr. Yalek said carefully. I've been in communication with some researchers on Earth who specialize in xenobiology. They're fascinated by your case and want to study the bonding process. If you were to cooperate with their research, it might help normalize your status with the Human Medical Board. And what about Lyrelay? Marcus asked. What happens to her while I'm being studied like a lab rat? Serafina moved closer, her voice becoming more urgent. Her condition is slowly deteriorating. The initial boost from your blood is fading, and she requires renewed genetic contact to maintain her enhanced physiology. Without it, she will gradually revert to her pre-transfusion state and eventually weaken beyond recovery. Marcus looked between Dr. Yalek and Serafina, feeling the weight of impossible choices. How long do we have? Based on current degradation rates, perhaps 6 months before the effects become irreversible, Dr. Yalek replied. And your solution is for me to have a child with Serafina? Marcus asked directly. Serafina's cheeks took on a deeper blue hue, which Marcus had learned was equivalent to blushing. It is not merely about reproduction. The bonding process requires emotional and physical connection over time. The child must be conceived through genuine care and commitment, not obligation. So you're asking me to fall in love with you, Marcus said bluntly. I am asking you to open your heart to the possibility, Serafina replied softly. The genetic bond exists, but it must be nurtured by choice, not force. If you truly cannot find connection with me, then we will search for other solutions, even if they are less certain. Marcus stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars beyond the station. Somewhere among those distant points of light was Earth, his home, where his colleagues now questioned his humanity. Here on this station, he was being asked to embrace a future he had never imagined. I need time to think, he said finally. And I need to see Lyrelay. Whatever decision I make, it has to be right for her, not just for your cultural expectations or my career concerns. Serafina nodded, understanding in her large eyes. She is in the education center, learning about both our worlds. Perhaps speaking with her will help clarify your path. As Marcus left his quarters, he realized that the most difficult part of this entire situation wasn't the biological complications or the cultural pressures. It was the growing realization that despite his protests and rational objections, he was beginning to care deeply for both Serafina and Lyrelay in ways that transcended species boundaries. 3 days had passed since the transfusion, and the changes in both Marcus and Lyrelay were remarkable. The little Zephyrian girl had not only recovered completely, but seemed to possess an energy and vitality that surprised even Dr. Yalek. She ran through the medical station's corridors with a joy that brought smiles to the faces of all the staff, regardless of their species. Marcus, meanwhile, was experiencing changes he hadn't expected. His reflexes had sharpened noticeably. His endurance had increased and minor injuries healed within hours instead of days. More intriguingly, he found himself understanding Zephyrian language without using the translation device, as if the blood exchange had created some kind of neural connection. The biological bond appears to be deeper than we initially realized, Dr. Yalek explained as he reviewed the latest test results with Marcus in his office. Your blood has not only saved Lyrelay's life, but has fundamentally altered both of your physiologies. You're both stronger, faster, and more resilient than before. Serafina entered the office carrying a tray of what appeared to be Zephyrian ceremonial foods. She had been spending most of her time at the medical station, ostensibly to monitor Lyrelay's recovery, but Marcus suspected there was more to it than that. I have brought the traditional foods of gratitude, she announced, setting the tray down carefully. In our culture, when someone saves a family member's life, they become part of our family circle. These foods will help strengthen the bond that has already formed between you and Lyrelay. Marcus looked at the strange, luminescent fruits and vegetables with curiosity. I appreciate the gesture, Serafina, but I'm not sure if these are safe for human consumption. They are now, Dr. Yalix interjected, consulting his scanner. Your modified physiology can process Zephyrian nutrients. In fact, these foods will likely enhance the beneficial effects you're already experiencing. As Marcus tentatively tried the alien foods, he was surprised by their pleasant, almost familiar taste. There was a warm sensation as he swallowed, and he immediately felt more energized. Serafina watched him carefully, her large eyes studying his every reaction. You feel the connection growing stronger, yes? The bond between life essences cannot be broken once formed. You are now part of Lyralei's existence, and she is part of yours. What exactly does that mean? Marcus asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Serafina's expression became more serious, and she exchanged a meaningful glance with Dr. Yalix. There is something we must discuss. The life bond you have formed with Lyralei is sacred among our people, but it also carries certain responsibilities. Dr. Yalix cleared his throat uncomfortably. Perhaps this conversation should wait until we have more data about the long-term effects of the transfusion. No, Serafina said firmly. He has the right to know. Marcus, in our culture, when someone shares their life essence to save a child, they become responsible for that child's future. But there is more. The bond you have formed is so strong that it affects not just Lyralei, but our entire family line. Marcus felt a growing sense of unease. I don't understand what you're getting at. Serafina moved closer, her expression intense. Your genetic material has been altered by the transfusion, just as Lyralei's has been. The compatibility between our species is not accidental. Our ancient texts speak of a time when the Zephyrians would find their perfect biological complement among the stars. We believe humans, specifically you, are that complement. Serafina, Dr. Yalix warned. You're moving into territory that involves interspecies relations protocols. We should involve the Cultural Liaison Department. But Serafina ignored him, her focus entirely on Marcus. Lyralei will grow up different now, changed by your essence. She will be stronger, more resilient, but she will also be incomplete without the continued presence of human genetic material in her life. And when she reaches maturity, she will need to bond with someone who carries compatible traits. Marcus stood up abruptly, feeling overwhelmed. Wait, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I am suggesting that the bond you have formed with my daughter goes beyond simple blood transfusion. You have become her life partner in the truest sense, connected to her future in ways that your species might not understand. The room fell silent except for the humming of the medical equipment. Marcus struggled to process what Serafina was telling him. He had simply wanted to save a child's life, and now he was being told that this act had created some kind of permanent biological and cultural obligation. This is insane, Marcus said finally. I'm a doctor. I took an oath to help people regardless of species. That doesn't make me responsible for your daughter's entire future, and it certainly doesn't create some kind of romantic obligation. Serafina's expression softened, but her resolve remained firm. You misunderstand. This is not about romance or human concepts of marriage. This is about biological necessity. Lyralei's altered physiology will require genetic material from her life bond partner to reach full maturity. Without it, she will weaken and eventually die. Dr. Yalix stepped forward, his scanner beeping with new readings. I hate to interrupt, but Serafina may not be entirely wrong. The biological changes in both of you are more extensive than we initially thought. There appears to be an ongoing genetic exchange occurring at the cellular level. It's as if your DNA is actively seeking to maintain contact and continue the bonding process. Marcus sank back into his chair, feeling the weight of unintended consequences settling on his shoulders. He had saved a child's life, but in doing so he had apparently committed himself to something far more complex than he had ever imagined. The warmth in his chest that he had felt during the transfusion now seemed less like a pleasant side effect and more like a permanent connection he didn't fully understand. Outside the office window, Lyralei played in the station's recreation area, her laughter echoing through the corridors. She looked healthier and happier than any child he had ever seen, but now Marcus wondered what price that happiness would ultimately demand from both of them. Dr. Marcus Chen had seen many strange things during his 15 years working at the Galactic medical station, orbiting Kepler 442b, but nothing quite like this. The emergency alarms had been blaring for the past 20 minutes, and the usually calm corridors buzzed with frantic activity. Alien medical staff rushed past him carrying equipment he couldn't identify, their translucent blue skin glistening under the harsh emergency lighting. "Human doctor, please report to Emergency Bay 7 immediately," the station's AI announced in its mechanical voice. Marcus quickened his pace, his medical bag bouncing against his hip. As one of only 3 human physicians on the station, he was often called upon for cases involving species compatibility issues. When he arrived at the emergency bay, the scene before him made his heart sink. On the medical table lay a small alien child, no bigger than a human toddler. The creature had the same translucent blue skin as the adults of its species, the Zephyrians, but it was pale and growing paler by the minute. Strange silver blood seeped from multiple wounds across its tiny body, and its breathing was shallow and erratic. Standing beside the table was an adult Zephyrian female, presumably the child's mother. Her normally serene features were twisted with anguish, and her large oval eyes were fixed on the dying child. When she noticed Marcus entering, she turned to him with a desperate expression. "You are the human healer," she said, her voice carrying the melodic quality typical of her species. "My daughter, she was caught in the mining accident on the surface. The explosion sent metal fragments into her body. We have tried everything, but she continues to lose life essence." Dr. Yalix, the chief Zephyrian physician, approached Marcus with grim determination. "The child has lost too much blood. We've exhausted our compatible donors on the station. Her blood type is extremely rare, even among our own people. We've run compatibility tests with every available species here, and nothing works." Marcus examined the child more closely, noting the similarity in her circulatory system to human physiology, despite the obvious differences in blood composition. "Have you tested human blood compatibility?" Dr. Yalix's expression showed surprise. "Humans? We assumed your iron-based blood would be toxic to our silicon-based systems. The chemical compositions are vastly different." "Sometimes the most unlikely combinations work," Marcus replied, rolling up his sleeve. "Let's run a compatibility test." "What do we have to lose?" The Zephyrian mother grabbed Marcus's arm gently, her cool touch sending a shiver through him. "You would risk this? For a child not of your species?" Marcus looked into her large, hope-filled eyes. "Where I come from, we have a saying, a child is a child, regardless of what world they're born on." The compatibility test took only minutes, but those minutes felt like hours as everyone in the emergency bay watched the automated analyzer process the samples. When the results appeared on the holographic display, stunned silence filled the room. "Remarkable," Dr. Yalix whispered. "Not only are they compatible, but human blood appears to have properties that could actually enhance the healing process for Zephyrians. The iron compounds seem to catalyze their cellular regeneration." Without hesitation, Marcus lay down on the adjacent medical bed. "Take whatever she needs." The transfusion process was unlike anything Marcus had experienced. As his blood flowed through the transparent tubes into the child's system, he could actually see the change occurring. The little girl's skin began to regain its natural blue luminescence, and her breathing became stronger and more regular. The Zephyrian mother watched in amazement as her daughter's eyes fluttered open for the first time in hours. The child looked around weakly, then focused on her mother's face. A sound that could only be described as relief and joy escaped from the mother's throat, a beautiful harmonic note that resonated through the medical bay. "The cellular regeneration is accelerating beyond our projections," Dr. Yalix reported, studying the readings on his medical scanner. "The human blood isn't just compatible. It's actively improving her healing rate. This is unprecedented." As the transfusion continued, Marcus felt a strange tingling sensation throughout his body. He had given blood many times before to help fellow humans, but this felt different. There was an odd warmth spreading through his chest, and he noticed that his own minor cuts and bruises from recent work were healing faster than normal. "The exchange appears to be mutual," Dr. Yalix observed, noting Marcus's improved vital signs. "Your blood is helping her heal, while her unique cellular structure seems to be enhancing your own regenerative capabilities. It's as if your species were designed to complement each other." The Zephyrian mother approached Marcus's bedside, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. "You have given my daughter life itself. In our culture, such an act creates a bond that transcends species. You are now considered family, connected to us by the essence of life you have shared." Marcus smiled weakly, feeling the effects of the blood loss, but satisfied with the outcome. "I'm just glad she's going to be okay." "What's her name?" Lirelai, the mother replied, her voice soft with emotion. And I am Seraphina. We are forever in your debt, Marcus Chen of Earth. As the medical staff continued monitoring both patients, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. The warm tingling in his chest had intensified, and he noticed Seraphina watching him with an expression he couldn't quite interpret. There was gratitude there, certainly, but something else as well, something that made him both curious and slightly apprehensive about what this newfound connection might mean. Little did he know that saving Lirelai's life had set in motion events that would challenge everything he thought he knew about duty, family, and the bonds that could exist between different species across the vast expanse of space. 6 months after the bonding ceremony, the medical station had been transformed into something unprecedented in galactic history. What had once been a simple orbital facility had become the Interspecies Genetic Research Institute, with Marcus serving as its director and Seraphina as head of xenobiology. The success of their bonding had attracted scientists, diplomats, and researchers from across the galaxy, all eager to understand the implications of successful human-Zephyrian integration. But for Marcus, the most important changes were happening within his own family. Lirelai had not only stabilized completely but had begun displaying abilities that amazed even Dr. Yalix. Her enhanced genetics allowed her to communicate telepathically with other bonded individuals, process complex scientific concepts with ease, and demonstrate healing abilities that surpassed both parent species. Papa Marcus, the baby is dreaming about flying, Lirelai announced one morning as she entered the family quarters that had been specially designed to accommodate their unique needs. Marcus looked up from his research notes, still adjusting to the casual way she read the emotional states of everyone around her. How can you tell? I can feel it through Mama's connection, Lirelai explained, settling beside him on the couch. The baby's thoughts are simple but strong. It wants to soar among the stars like the pictures in my learning programs. Seraphina emerged from the bedroom, her pregnancy now showing clearly. The child she carried was developing at an accelerated rate, another unexpected benefit of the genetic bonding. According to Dr. Yalix's latest scans, our son will be born with fully integrated human and Zephyrian traits. He may be the first truly hybrid individual in the galaxy. Marcus placed his hand on Seraphina's growing belly, feeling the strong, steady heartbeat of his unborn son, through both physical touch and their psychic connection. Have we decided on a name? I was thinking about that, Seraphina replied, settling beside them. In Zephyrian tradition, children are named for the circumstances of their conception. Since he was conceived through the bonding of two species who saved each other, I suggest Unitas. Unity, Marcus translated, having become fluent in Zephyrian through their mental link. I like it. Unitas Chen Seraphina. The family moment was interrupted by Dr. Yalix's arrival, his expression excited but urgent. I apologize for the intrusion, but we have received a priority communication from the Galactic Medical Council. They want to discuss the implications of your research for other species. Marcus stood, his protective instincts immediately alert. What kind of discussion? The good kind, Dr. Yalix assured him. Several other species have identified genetic compatibility, markers similar to yours and Seraphina's. They're requesting guidance on how to proceed with their own bonding experiments. You mean other species? Might be able to form the same kind of connections we have? Seraphina asked. Not identical, but potentially similar. Your bonding appears to have activated dormant genetic sequences that exist in many species, but were never previously triggered. You may have discovered a fundamental mechanism for evolutionary advancement that applies across the galaxy. Marcus felt a mixture of pride and responsibility settling on his shoulders. What are they asking of us specifically? They want you to establish protocols for safe interspecies bonding, to train other medical teams in the procedures, and to help identify compatible species pairs. Essentially, they want you to become the galaxy's experts on genetic bonding. Lirelai clapped her hands excitedly. That means we'll have more hybrid children to play with. The adults laughed at her innocent enthusiasm, but Marcus realized she had touched on something profound. She's right, isn't she? If this spreads to other species, we won't be unique anymore. There could be entire populations of hybrid individuals. Which brings us to another development, Dr. Yalix continued. The research data you've been collecting has attracted attention from Earth's government. They're proposing a formal alliance with the Zephyrian Council. with your family serving as cultural ambassadors. Serafina raised an eyebrow. Cultural ambassadors? Living proof that different species can not only coexist but thrive together, Dr. Yalix explained. Your success has changed political perspectives on both worlds. Instead of viewing interspecies contact as potentially dangerous, both governments now see it as an opportunity for mutual advancement. Marcus looked around at his transformed family and felt a deep sense of satisfaction. A year ago, I was just a doctor trying to save a child's life. Now I'm apparently helping to reshape galactic civilization. Do you regret it? Serafina asked, though their psychic link already told her the answer. Not for a second, Marcus replied firmly. Every challenge, every complication, every moment of uncertainty has led to this. We've created something beautiful and important. A soft chiming indicated an incoming communication. The holographic display activated to show Commander Mitchell calling from Earth. Dr. Chen, congratulations on the pregnancy, the commander began without preamble. I'm calling to inform you that Earth Medical Command has approved funding for a full interspecies research fleet, with you as the chief medical officer. We're talking about ships equipped to study genetic compatibility across dozens of species. That's quite an offer, Marcus replied carefully. What would it mean for my family? You would continue your work here, while also traveling to worlds where compatible species have been identified. Your wife and children would accompany you, of course. Think of it as a galactic research expedition with the potential to transform civilization. Marcus looked at Serafina, reading her excitement through their bond. Lirelai was practically bouncing with enthusiasm at the thought of visiting other worlds. We'll need to discuss it as a family, Marcus said diplomatically. Of course, but Dr. Chen, what you've accomplished here has implications far beyond medicine. You've proven that evolution doesn't have to be limited to single-species development. You've opened the door to cooperative evolution across the galaxy. After the communication ended, the family sat together in comfortable silence, processing the magnitude of the opportunities being offered to them. What do you think, Lirelai? Marcus asked. Would you like to travel to other worlds and help other species learn about genetic bonding? Will there be other children like me? She asked hopefully. Eventually, yes, Serafina replied, and you could help teach them about their abilities. Lirelai nodded decisively. Then yes, everyone should have the chance to be as happy as we are. Marcus felt his son stirring in Serafina's womb, responding to the emotional warmth of his family's joy. Through his enhanced senses, he could already detect the child's remarkable potential, the genetic gifts that would make him even more capable than Lirelai. I think, Marcus said slowly, that saving one child's life has led us to a chance to help save entire civilizations from the limitations of single-species development. Then we accept? Serafina asked. We accept, Marcus confirmed. We'll take our family to the stars and help other species discover the same joy we've found. As if in response to his words, baby Unitas moved strongly in Serafina's belly, and Lirelai laughed with delight at sensing her brother's excitement through their genetic link. Looking out at the star field beyond their quarters, Marcus realized that his decision to donate blood to save a dying alien child had started a chain reaction that would reshape the galaxy, and as he felt the love and contentment of his unprecedented family flowing through their psychic connections, he knew that every sacrifice had been worth it. The future stretched out before them, filled with infinite possibilities for growth, discovery, and the continuation of something that had never existed before but now seemed as natural as breathing. They had become more than the sum of their parts, and they would help others do the same.